Hi, my name is Eva de Hully, and I want to present to you Perceptual Control Theory, an inside-out approach to systems thinking. And this is a quick re-recording of my talk given at SCiO, Systems and Complexity in Organization meeting in 2024. Perceptual control theory was developed by engineer Bill Powers in the 1960s and after, and continues to be a basis for research and applications in sociology, robotics, biology, psychology, and psychotherapy. And this theory fits well within a lineage of systems thinking and cybernetics. And if you want to know more about that, you can read the preface of our interdisciplinary handbook in the 2023 edition. So the basic tenet of PCT, Perceptual Control Theory, is that we control our input, our perceptions, like the way we experience the world. And this is also reflected in Powers' book, in which he outlines the theory in detail. Behaviour is the control of perception. And to understand this principle, I want to show you a little demonstration. Here you see two people who have both put a marker through a loop of an elastic band. And the person on the left is drawing a picture on the paper. So what is the person on the right doing? I'll give you some time to think what's happening, to take a look at what's happening here. Many people who watch this video or do this demonstration for the first time think that the person on the right is trying to recreate the drawing or mirror the drawing in any way or keep attention in the rubber bands. But both of these explanations are not correct. So the person on the right has been given a simple instruction. Make sure that the knot of the rubber band remains above the dot. So while the person on the left is drawing, the person on the right must make constant movements to keep the knot above the dot. And this is control, trying to maintain a perception in a desired state. So let's dive into the core of perceptual control theory, this model of a feedback loop. And this simplified diagram represents the fundamental process of how living organisms control their perceptions. And the key idea here is that we act to experience what we want to experience. Let me walk you through the components. So on the, let me see how I can do this here. On the left you see the input function, and this is our current perception, what we're experiencing right now. And this could be as simple as like hearing my voice or as complex as understanding this theory. On the top we have the reference signal, and this represents what we want to experience, our goal or our desire. And importantly, this is also a perceptual signal, just like the input. So the input signal and the reference signal are compared here, and the difference between these two is the error signal. And this error signal thus represents the discrepancy between what we want and what we're currently experiencing. And this difference drives the output. So it tells the lower systems what is needed to bring our current perception closer to our desired perception. And this is how we interact with our environment to reduce the error. So this model forms a continuous feedback loop. The output affects the environment, which in turn influences our input. So we change the world that we are experiencing continuously. And this model also explains why PCT is an inside-out view of on systems thinking. So we don't look at this model from the outside, but we understand control from within the perspective of the controlling agent. PCT tells us that we control our perceptions, but it's crucial to understand that perceptions in this context is a very broad term. So at the most basic level, we control specific sensory experiences at any given moment. This could be the intensity of pressure on your skin right now if you feel your hands against your fingers against each other. Or it could be the sensation of taste when you eat chocolate. And we control relationships between these sensations, like noticing the movement of a tree leaf or how objects on your desk relate to each other. And we control our perceptions of distinctions, for example, recognizing a difference between a pen and a pencil on your desk. At a more complex level, we control our perception of predictability in our environment, so we understand and create patterns and anticipate what happens next. And at even higher levels, we control our perception in the form of algorithmic and programmatic thinking, planning and executing plans, so the way we can do things or solve problems. And these plans, even at a higher level, are guided by our control of principles, the values we strive for. And finally, at the highest level, we control system concepts by defining what is real and what is not. And if you want to know more about this level, I urge you to read my chapter in the handbook. And this is available open access through the link that is provided below. So all these different ways of control are organized in a hierarchy. And hierarchical control means that layers of parallel control systems work together, allowing us to control many different types of perception simultaneously. So starting from the bottom, let's see, from the bottom here, the lowest level receives input directly from our senses. So this is where we process basic sensory information like touch or sight or sound. And as we move up the hierarchy, each level combines signals from the levels below into a particular type of perception. For instance, from the light on your retina, you construct an image of my hands moving at this moment. And higher level perceptions consist of combinations of all the lower level perceptions. And that's how we form complex concepts and abstract ideas, like understanding this theory. Higher levels set the reference signals for lower levels, so they create a cascading effect that allows us to pursue complex goals while managing countless lower level perceptions at our desired state. And how this works within ourselves is reflected in how it works at a higher scale, for example, in an organizational context. So this also explains why changes at higher levels, like shifts in company values or strategy, can also have wide-ranging effects throughout an organization, because it shows how everything is connected to each other. So control is most obvious when you lose it. One way to lose control is disturbances. So at this moment you saw me talking, but you didn't hear what I was saying. So this was a disturbance to your perception of this flow of the presentation going as predicted, and a disturbance to your perception of hearing my voice explaining the theory. So disturbances to control happen all the time, right? You make little mistakes, you resolve the mistakes, you find another way to control. That's not disturbances are like a fact of life. One other major source of control is loss. Those are disturbances as well. One other major source of control loss is a conflict, when two different control systems have different reference values for the same controlled variable. And I will show you what conflict is like. Here you have the same people, but now they have two dots and one knot, and they both want to perceive the knot above their own dot. And you can see what happens. So they put in maximum effort to get the knot over to their side, and eventually, in most times in this demonstration, the rubber band breaks because they all keep on pulling on the band. So this is a nice demonstration to try at home as well. So what we see happening here is that both sides put in maximum effort and both are not able to keep their perception at their reference. So both don't get what they want. Conflict occurs when there are two different reference values for the same controlled variable. For example, you want to leave now, but your children don't want to leave yet. Or you want to use system A for a certain task, but your co-worker wants to use system B for the same task. And you might be fighting over who gets to say what system to use. So the important thing is that there's a single controlled variable, right? The system being used for this particular task, and two different reference values, system A and system B. And it's impossible to satisfy both references simultaneously. You can't use both systems at once for the same task. So both you and your coworker are trying to control your perception of how the work should be done, and you both have all kinds of arguments why one system is better than the other. And this, of course, impacts your current productivity because you're busy fighting, you're frustrated, and there's a lot of tension in your relationship. And conflict can become a persistent problem if the current system structure doesn't allow a resolution. So understanding this a conflict from any conflict from the viewpoint of perceptual control theory is powerful because it shifts our focus from personality clashes or issues of authority, like all the things that conflicts are usually are involved in conflicts, like this co-worker is like so very annoying, and I know better what to choose, what system to use, right? All these personal problems can be understood from the underlying structure of the situation of conflict. So this helps us to see that neither you nor your co-worker is being unreasonable. You're both simply trying to control your perceptions based on your individual reference values, which are embedded in your own perceptual hierarchy. So we all just want to experience the world in the way we want. And this creates conflict if we both want to try to control the same variable. So if you are stuck in a conflict, in a persistent conflict that's not like a simple choice, but you're both stuck and both fighting as putting in as much effort as you can. So how would you solve this? And this is an area where my job as a psychologist comes in handy, because my main task in therapy is also to help my clients solve their internal conflicts. So in this next section, I will use some of that knowledge to explain the ideas. PCT approaches conflict resolution through a process called reorganization, and it helps to understand conflict as a three-layer model of conflict. So let's start at the bottom. So at the bottom layers of the perceptual hierarchy, you see the symptoms of conflict. The systems are working hard but never satisfied due to conflicting higher level goals. So for example, if I'm trying to finish reading a book, but I also have to start cooking dinner, I have an internal conflict because I want to do both at the same time. So time is the time I have for this task, or the time I have now is my controlled variable, but I want to read a book and I want to start cooking dinner. So while I'm reading the book, I'm constantly distracted by thoughts about dinner. And if I'm choosing to cook dinner, I'm annoyed because I really want to finish reading my book. So these bottom level perceptual systems, they are struggling. There's lots of tension there. So there we see the symptoms of the conflict. And then there's this middle level, a middle layer, and that's where the conflicting systems with contradictory goals reside. So in our example, one system wants to finish reading and the other one wants to start cooking. Right, so this is the level where the conflict takes place. But then there's the higher level, or higher levels that are involved in this process, and this is the most crucial level for resolving conflicts, because it's there where the rules of the game are set, where higher level goals originate. And you're often unaware of this level. You just notice that you can't read or cook effectively, but you can't see why this is happening, why this problem occurs. And reorganization is the process of changing these control systems from within, and particularly at the highest level. So it's about solving the problem from the inside rather than trying to change the environment. So to reorganize effectively, you need to pause your attempts to solve the problem through like normal control, through changing the output of your system. Because as long as you're trying to fix a problem, you can't reorganize. So, and then you must have space to focus your attention on where the problem lies. And you need to consider all systems involved in the problem, not just one in isolation. So you need to explore both sides of the problem. And importantly, reorganization at the highest level is most effective. So in our reading versus cooking example, this might involve examining why do you feel compelled to do both simultaneously? Like what higher level goals are involved? Why is it so important for me to finish my book? And why is it important for me to start cooking on time? And if I explore this, I might think about, well, I need to finish this book because I need some time for myself before I start doing things for my family again, right? So that makes the book important. But on the other hand, I want to sit at the table together, so I need to start cooking so that people don't get grumpy, right? So there's all kinds of goals involved, and I need to explore those. And finally, I could think in this reorganization could result in many different solutions. Maybe I want to order food, or have my husband cook dinner, or I would communicate about how I need time to read to my family, or I could listen to an audiobook while I'm cooking. So once these values that are held become clear, many more solutions become possible. And this might look also when you reorganize through the higher levels, it may look or feel like an insight or a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. So now that we understand this concept of reorganization, let's discuss how we can facilitate this process. So how do we help reorganization to take place? Well, there are 4 key principles to keep in mind when you are helping a reorganization to occur. And these are derived from a method of levels therapy, which is a therapy that originates from perceptual control theory and is used widely as a form of psychotherapy. So these principles are first, don't take away control from the system where from the systems with the problem, whether this is within yourself or in a context where you're working with a team. So it's crucial to resist the urge to solve the problem for others or impose solutions from the outside. Because in PCT we understand that individuals are always trying to control their own perceptions. So instead of providing solutions, we need to create an environment where people feel empowered to explore and adjust their own control systems. So they need a bit of a playground or a safe space to explore their conflicts. And second principle is curiosity. We need to explore all sides of the problem. So we need to approach a situation with genuine curiosity and encourage exploration of all aspects of the conflict, including perspectives that might seem contradictory or unwanted or stupid or naive or mean or anyway. So whatever comes up needs to have a seat at the table. And this curiosity helps to uncover the higher level goals and values that are driving the conflict. For example, in our earlier scenario of conflicting work systems, we need to take time to understand why you prefer system A and your coworker prefers system B. So what values or goals underlie these preferences? So we need to be curious about everything that's connected to this conflict. And then the third principle to take care of is that we need to notice everything in this process. Emotions, thoughts and imagery. So we need to pay attention to all aspects of the experience, not just the logical thoughts and rational ideas. And this is I think this is a lesson that we could use in system thinking approaches, where everything is like very analytic, can be very analytic, and emotions are more difficult to involve in a business context. But if you want to facilitate a deeper change and or reorganization, you need these emotions, because they are connected to what people think is really important to them, so what they hold very dear. So also emotions, physical sensations and mental imagery need to be noticed. And so one thing that I often do in therapy is just tell people what I notice. I say, well, what makes you laugh just now? Or I can see you're looking somewhere over there. What's happening? Like really notice the small signals of something going through their mind. And so this more holistic awareness can reveal connections and patterns that would otherwise not be apparent when you focus solely on this rational analysis. And it allows all these systems to take part in the process of reorganization. And the final principle is that we need to sustain attention where it hurts, so at the heart of the problem, where the pain is in this problem. And this is perhaps the most challenging principle, because it's natural for us to want to avoid discomfort. But the key to effective reorganization often lies in the areas of the greatest tension or difficulty. So by maintaining like a focus, or I think awareness is a better word, on these uncomfortable areas, we allow change to take place in that moment, in that space. And this is where I think we could all be a bit of a therapist, right? Someone who can be really safe and provide a safe holding space for difficult emotions and difficult processes to emerge. And by following these 4 principles and holding them all, this is not a step-by-step program. So you try in the conversation, you try to do them all right. You try to balance them all. So by following these principles, we create an environment that allows reorganization to take place. So we're not forcing a solution, but rather allowing the system, and this could be an individual, a team or an organization, to naturally evolve towards a new and more effective state. So I hope that through watching this video you've gained some insights into this inside-out approach to systems thinking. So what I did is I explained like the basic of the control model. We've talked a bit about perceptions, about the hierarchy of perceptions, and I explained the complexities of conflict and the power of reorganization. And this is all like an introduction to perceptual control theory. There's a lot more about it. But I think PCT provides systems thinkers with some powerful tools for understanding and addressing complex problems. And it encourages us to look beyond surface behaviors into the underlying perceptions and goals driving these behaviors. And it also reminds us that sustainable change comes from within systems, not from an external force. So I'm curious how you think of applying these principles in your work context. And the questions you could ask and start asking today is like, what perceptions are people trying to control. So ask people, what do you want? What do you think is important? What are you trying to keep in a certain state? And what do you strive for? So see what all the wants are. And they can also be conflicting ones. That's a very normal thing to happen. So if people say, I really want to achieve A, you can also ask them about if they maybe also want a little bit of B, or if there's other ones that they have. And you should ask about or look for persistent conflicting goals, right? If there's tension somewhere, there's often a conflict between goals. You can take a look at what goals are involved and why does this conflict not resolve naturally, right? Why is it so difficult to make a choice there? And in that case, we have to look at how can we facilitate reorganization at the higher level. So how can you make it safe enough to explore? Can you help people to talk about whatever is bothering them? And can you have the patience to allow this reorganization to occur? So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention watching this video, and I welcome your questions. So you can find me on social media or send me an email, and you can follow the links below, which are also in the notes of this video, to learn more about perceptual control in Dutch or in English.